So again, thanks for taking the time. So I'm Blair Timmy, Solutions Consultant at Agile Management Experts, or AMX. And I'm a solutions consultant for Smartsheet. I have also been solution certified from Smartsheet in project management. This means that I wrote like a 4 hours exam last year in Seattle in person, and I was qualified best in class. I was also trained in all Smartsheet premium apps like Control Center, Premium Calendar, and so on. So like for any questions that might come up also later on, feel free to throw also those questions, even though we'll try to, of course, keep the webinar focused. And the key topic for today is going to be dashboards. I see we have a very mixed audience, so I'll make the webinar today. I'll try to keep all of you, like to take all of you on board, so that all of you can find some relevant information for you in this webinar. And yeah, if there are any questions at any point in time, if you hover over with your mouse in the part in the bottom of the call, you see F&A or Q&A, and there you can write your questions anytime. Of course, I'll try to get to them as soon as possible, probably after we finish each example or dashboard that we build together. And then you also have the option to raise hand in case I forget any of the questions, or write in the chat. So great, then I think we're ready to start. So I'll share my screen to show to warmly welcome you to our webinar. And first, probably before starting with the webinar, I would like to give you some background about AMX, like really shortly, just to know, like for you, what we do and how we can help you the most. And then we'll of course like continue with the webinar. So we're the only Smartsheet Platinum solution partner in Central Europe. And we've been awarded with a Customer Experience Award last year in Seattle, which we believe is a strong proof of the good work that we do at our clients. Just about us, we offer like 360-degree services about Smartsheet. That means we offer licenses, trainings on site, telephone support, and so on. So practically everything that our clients or potential clients might need about Smartsheet. And of course, all the training we offer are like tailored to the client's needs and desires. And the same is also for today's webinar. Like anytime there are any questions and so on, I'll of course try to take them and also adapt the webinar based on your questions and interests. And very good to know is that you're definitely not alone on your journey with Smartsheet. Like we have industry leaders like Roche, Tel Air, Daimler, and so on, that also work with Smartsheet, which demonstrates that it's a great tool by which many of the successful companies are powered. And all of our employees are certified in the highest level. And we offer, I see also here we have a very mixed audience, and we offer like multilingual support for all of our clients. So this was about AMX. I would quickly hover over the points that we have in the agenda for today. So what do we want to achieve by the end of this webinar so that you can go with a good feeling in the weekend? First, we will learn here how to communicate effectively with dashboards, because dashboards are a really, really powerful tool. And second, how to structure a dashboard. Third, how to leverage navigation, just like you see here. Like for instance, to move across dashboards. I will show you some examples with good practices. And in the middle, we will take a good dashboard and transform it together into the best dashboard ever, so that we can also learn much better by practically doing and showing things throughout this webinar. So what we shall continue with as next is an example that I would like to show of an executive dashboard, so that you get a feeling of how a dashboard might look like. And what I'm going to show you as next is a client dashboard, of course, with fake project names, with fake numbers, and for which we have the permission to show in public. And it's a pretty famous client, and I'm sure that all of you that drink coffee have heard of the brand name. And this is Starbucks. So I'll just click on here and we'll get to the Starbucks executive dashboard. Here you see this is a dashboard, a project portfolio dashboard for executives. So you have to think, what is the most important thing when building a dashboard is you have to think who is looking at it. In this case, this is an executive dashboard. So if you're like the CEO or like senior management in Starbucks, you want to have like in your project portfolio dashboard an overview over all your projects. And for instance, here, as you see with the mouse, you have like the different projects. And if you're like the CEO of Starbucks, pretty much you can see for each project the key information. I'll also annotate it so that you can more clearly see it. So here, for instance, for customization, you see this is the project name, you see when it will be completed, what's the revenue, what's the status, is it going well, are there any minor problems or big problems, what's the progress that we're having, how much did we spend on this project, and so on. And in a real case scenario, if you, for instance, would see status red, you would have like to call the project manager, send him an email. Probably he will not answer like very soon and so on. So it's like very hard to collect the information, and especially for that information to be up to date. But like with dashboards, you can see at a glance, like by just clicking at it, and then you're directly in one level deeper. Practically now you're in the project dashboard. And just for your visibility, I'll take out the arrows so that you can see more clearly. Exactly. So what we saw earlier was a project portfolio dashboard, so across many projects. And what we see here is just a project dashboard. And what we learn from it, why do we have two dashboards or like multiple dashboards, is because we want to keep our dashboards as focused as possible. We don't want like to overwhelm our dashboards, because we can create also sub dashboards, for instance, for every project, like we see here for Starbucks example. And this is exactly one best practice, like don't overwhelm your dashboards and keep in mind who your audience is. What do they need to see? And really present only the most relevant information. For instance, now we have a project dashboard, and of course, the information that we see here is a little bit more detailed, like we have the OPEX, CAPEX, and so on. And we have some charts, and we have also could have included some reports and so on. So these are then the details that come in this level of project dashboard, which can be a little bit more detailed. And so this is pretty much like a very good example of like how a dashboard could look like. And what I can show you also, like for you to get also another very good overview, what is another very good example, is our best-in-class solution. So this was pretty much like built by Smartsheet ourselves. So what do we see here? So this is now a completely different like dashboard in layout. And this is exactly also why I picked it, because I wanted to show that, because many of the clients, when they see the Starbucks example, they think like, oh, that's great, like so many powerful like charts and metrics and a lot of colors and so on. But it's not that your dashboard needs to look exactly the same, but it can still be as good in quality as that other dashboard. For instance, here we don't have like so many colors, but as you see, we always have this navigation menu on the top, which is particularly useful for the users, because this means that they don't have to save like multiple dashboards and like remember where each of this dashboard is located, but all they need to do is practically just to save this as favorite, or just save like the bookmark as favorite, like this Google tab. And then just from here, they can practically go anywhere. So all they need to remember is where this one dashboard lies. And here, for instance, you can navigate very good from here, like to your portfolio, departments, and so on. So this is the first best practice, like having a navigation menu. And then here, for instance, you see the other best practice is that if we make a comparison like between dashboards and websites, they can practically look just as amazing. Like consider your dashboard just like your website. And here, for instance, if you put pictures like this, it makes your dashboard look much more modern. And even though here there are like two very large groups, some that like do not care as much about design and how it looks like, and some that really do care about it, like the marketing department, for instance. And I'm sure here we have also some marketing freaks, which is great, because I'm sure they will love this dashboard. Because here you can really see it's the whole user experience that counts. So your dashboard should look like concise, to the point, but it should also look nice. And this is exactly why these pictures make your dashboard look like much more modern. So this was the second best practice. The third best practice here is that this is like a landing page. So what is a landing page? Practically, a landing page is just like a starter dashboard, a cockpit, where I come, and from here I can get everywhere, like to portfolio and so on. And also here I have described what can each of the users find under each of these buttons if they click here. And also later on, for those that are curious to know how these buttons are built, no worries, we'll get there and I'll show you how you can build those. So let's say I'm a normal employee. I have this landing page saved as favorite. I just click here and I come to our portfolio dashboard. This is pretty much what we saw in the Starbucks example. Just like now we have different metrics and you see like also different design. And here, for instance, in portfolio dashboard, you have always the most important metrics at the top, for instance, like financials, like how much was allocated, what's the budget, how much are we forecasting like to spend and so on. So these are always very important metrics, especially for the management. And then also another very important metric is, for instance, health of the project itself, and like status, how many have been started, how many not started, how many in progress, how many have been complete. And what is the best about dashboards is that all this data is coming from the project plans and it's fetched automatically. That means that, for instance, if any of your project members, for instance, ticks off a task as done, then this chart here, it would update automatically. So that's the beauty of dashboard. It's not a static PowerPoint version or Excel version or sheet or whatsoever, but it's something that is like very visual, straight to the point, and is automatically updated from the information that is like feeding this dashboard, so to say. And for instance, here we have some risk, actions, issues of some chart, which I will also show you how we can build one. And I'll give you some best practices here too. I see here we have, for instance, a lot of risks. So as a project manager, I directly know like what I should do, who I should contact, and I know that I should take action here because many risks have not been closed. Or for instance, here I see, okay, generally the project status is fine because almost 80% of the tasks had the duration as expected, so pretty much it's on track. And for instance, here with the hours from each department, so I have like a clear overview of the effort that is put in my projects. Then this was a portfolio dashboard, but we can also have a dashboard per department or a dashboard per project. For instance, here you see I have all the different departments like research and development, manufacturing, and so on. These are, of course, just some examples. They could all be adapted to your company's needs or to your company's like department structure. And as you see, it's always like looking nice, and you have some landing page, and then from here, you can go directly to the dashboard that you need to go to. So for instance, I click here. Let's have a look at the research and development department dashboard. And here it's pretty much like a similar dashboard to what we saw earlier, just that now we're talking about the projects in research and development. And like really, you see, it's really concise, straight to the point. The space is used wisely. The most important information that I need is in the top, and so on. And then if I need to go more in detail, I can add always like later on, like some information, for instance, like here, some project summaries and so on. So this was like a department dashboard, but similarly, we could have like a project dashboard. Practically, we can have a dashboard for any like thing that is important for a company, like for on a project base, on a department base. We can have a dashboard per site, per customer, counter, and so on. And so now, for instance, we can see that in the navigation, I find here pretty much everything. And here I have also another link to submitting a request. For instance, if I need, if I want to, I have a great idea, and then I don't need like to write an email or like look for that file where that is. I just like go to my landing dashboard, to my cockpit, and then I just click on project request, and that's it. Or like a budget request, IT request, and so on. And also, you see, like we're always getting into more detail, like portfolio, department, submitting requests, and now I'm like on my level, like what is really relevant for me. Like I clicked on my task, and for instance, here I can see all the tasks that I have across all projects. And here, for instance, I do not need to create like a report for every employee. But because I have assigned two, so pretty much everyone that opens up this report, they will see their task in it, even though it's just one single report. Everyone sees only their task. But this is report, so this is why I will not like dig deeper into it. And here, for instance, I have also the link to the help center, like in case something is unclear for me, like some Smartsheet formula questions or something, then I can directly click here. So this is why these like navigation menus, clarity, building like a lot of dashboards that are connected to each other really makes a huge difference. So this was pretty much like the two examples that I wanted to show you. And now I will start like with another chapter where I would really like show you how you can build such a dashboard. We'll take one good dashboard that is good, but not great, and we'll make it great together. But before moving into that, I'll see if we have any questions. Great. So far it looks good, but like feel free to ask questions. I'm more than happy to answer. And like most of all, this webinar is made for you. So it's great that like any questions, there are no wrong questions or not too simple questions. Like every question is right, just shoot for it, and I'll be very happy to answer. But as there are no questions, I'm assuming I did a good job probably so far. Great. Yeah, so we can continue. And if you guys are like wondering, because I'm seeing that there are people viewing this dashboard, don't worry, I'll send you the link to this solution, to these solutions that I presented, so you can also have a look at it on your own and like experiment with it if you want. Okay, great. So far it looks good. Then we'll make we'll move on with our good dashboard example, which will turn into a great dashboard. And I think here is where the most of the questions will come, because here we'll like dig deeper into technicalities and so on. And here, so this is a good dashboard, but we can definitely improve it in our webinar and make it look even greater. Firstly, yeah, and here, like, we can talk as many critics as possible about this dashboard, because this is a dashboard we experimented like way earlier ago, like ourselves, and of course we try to make it a little bit not so super optimal, so we can be super critical about this dashboard, no worries at all. And so here I'll continue probably first with the good things. What's good about this dashboard? First here, so I started with, so the person X had started with the navigation menu, like to, for instance, to the project portfolio and to the R&D dashboard, which is great. But we can definitely, there are many important things that we can include, like in our dashboard. Like, for instance, we could include like all the links to submitting a request dashboard, or to the home landing page, and so on. And then here, for instance, I have some charts, which is good, but I have no chart titles, which leaves me wondering, what do these charts really show? Like, of course, I can assume that here I'm talking about the health of the task in this project. But if you leave people assuming about what you're presenting in the dashboard, that's definitely not a good sign. So it should really be as clear as possible for your end audience. And for instance, here I can see, okay, like department lead is twice, so I could definitely like optimize it a little bit. Or here I have some free space, which I would definitely try to avoid, because think about the user experience. Like, they land in this dashboard, and when they see like spaces and irregularities, then they get not such a good feeling from it, and then they'll not even scroll like to see what's underneath it. So in your one pager, so in this part here, you should really try to condense information in such a clear and good looking way, so that your end user is motivated, like to see, okay, what's like coming more, like show me more, I'm addicted to it. Okay, so let's make it great. But before that, I saw we have a question. Okay, the user asks, what kind of widget is used for the navigation? Is there a best practice? That's a great question, and that's what I'll directly show. But before answering this, I see another question. Where does Smartsheet take the data? Did I have to collect the data and put them in Smartsheet? Yeah, that's true. So in Smartsheet, you have like sheets, reports, and dashboards. And in the dashboard, of course, the data is fetched from the data that comes like from these sheets and reports and so on. And then we like insert this data in the dashboard by using several widgets, which I'll show now. So for building a dashboard, for instance, I click on edit, I need to add widgets. Widgets is practically like everything you see here. So this is one widget, this is one widget, one widget. So we have like different widgets that we use to build the dashboard. First, we have a metric widget. So that's a widget where, for instance, you have the data in a sheet, for instance, who's the project manager. And here you can define, okay, like I want to fetch this information in my dashboard, just like we did here. For charts, you have, again, for instance, the data in your project plan, for instance, about the health of your task, and then you build a chart out of it, like how many tasks are red, how many are blue, how many are yellow. I was wondering what color did I forget? And then you have like a shortcut widget where, for instance, you can add links, just like we added here, like different links that you think might be important for the end user. You have report widgets, which are practically the things here. So reports are pretty much like filtered views of different Smartsheets. So for instance, you can have a report showing you all your tasks. just like what I showed in the beginning. Or you could have a report showing you only the milestones, like we have here. And then you have the possibility to enter an image, which I'll just do as next, like once I finish this explanation. Practically, you can just click insert image, and then you can just select the image, and then it's done. A title, self-explanatory, I think. Rich text also, like you can write just text in it. And web content widgets, for instance, you can insert YouTube videos, you can insert Google Maps, and so on. And you can play them, for instance, you can play a YouTube video directly from Smartsheet, or you could create a Google Maps with all your stores location and insert it in the Smartsheet. Perfect. I saw questions coming. That's a great sign. Before moving to the other questions, I will first show how did we build this project. So this navigation menu at the top, which is really important and definitely best practice. So let's see how this is built. So practically, this is an image widget. So you see, it's like image, and here, like I have one image. I said display title. And here, for instance, I write like the name of the document that I want to go to. For instance, in this case, I wrote project portfolio dashboard. And then in advanced options, I can say do nothing, which means that if somebody clicks on it, it will do nothing. It can go to URL. This can be, for instance, company website, or it can be like any URL link practically. Or you can open a Smartsheet item. In this case, for instance, my portfolio dashboard is already in Smartsheet. So I said open this file when people click on it. And no worries, we'll do it several times. So to get a good full menu so that you'll know how to build it. So first, for instance, we have project portfolio, R&D dashboard. Then what we could add is definitely, for instance, the link to the department dashboards. And here I'll show you a trick. It's possible to copy and paste widgets in dashboards, and also across dashboards, which means if I had a widget in another dashboard, I could copy and paste it here. And also here I'll do the same, because then I don't have to worry about the sizing and about the text size and so on of this widget. So I'll just click paste. And here, for instance, I want to go now to the departments dashboards. Department dashboard. And then I'll click advanced options. And then here, like instead of like searching, I can just click here departments. So that's my department dashboard, and then done. And you see it's like really easy. Then I can just copy and paste it again. And for instance, I can also add a link to all the submit request forms. So again, I can just like rename it, so submit request. And then in advanced option, I can say submit request, exactly, and just click it. So I'm opening a Smartsheet item, and that's the dashboard, and we'll test it afterwards. And for instance, what would also be helpful is seeing my tasks report. Exactly. So then again, so you see, you should click on this pencil. So this is the edit mode. And then I say here, my tasks. Oh, here I have capitalized like each word. So I'll keep up with it. And for instance, my tasks. And here I say I have a report, which is my task. And then I just click on it. Great. I'll make them all one bigger, so that we have a nice looking dashboard. We said we wanted to make it look great, so I should stick to my promise. So yeah, I'll just make this centered. Okay, great. Great. So this is how you would build a navigation menu. So I hope this question was answered. I'll just have a look at the other questions. Exactly, so this was answered. This was also answered. I have another question, is it possible to connect Smartsheet with SAP and collect data automatically? Yes, definitely. There's something called SAP Connector, and practically all the data that is in SAP can be like automatically connected like in both ways. Like you can like fetch all the data from SAP to Smartsheet. Thanks for all the questions. And then is there an opportunity to link Smartsheet to a BI system, and are you into SQL program this? Yes, it's definitely possible to link Smartsheet to BI systems, and especially because Smartsheet has an open API. So with a little programming, you can, like the programmers in your company can also do it themselves, but there are also like some already like finished connectors that you can use like for fetching the data to Smartsheet. And if there's like anything unanswered or like not clear for the moment, feel free then after the webinar to call me or drop me an email, and I'll be happy to get back to you. And excited to see you do this. Good luck. Thanks, Joseph. That's nice to hear. So we'll continue now with the dashboard, what we can do better. So we did this navigation menus just to test this. For instance, we see it has worked. So we're going to submit request. So it's really, really easy. Now, the second thing I would definitely suggest here is like to change the background color of the dashboard. Like you have the possibility, in case I was too fast, so I always should click edit. Then we have the settings option, and then I can say white, and you will see that it looks much better. Yes, so this is also something that I would definitely recommend doing for your dashboard. Then here, for instance, if we look at this dashboard, it looks like two not so super like enthusiastic, so to say, for the users. And like, sorry for interruption, I see some people there raising their hands. If you have questions, please submit them into the F&A or Q&A comment box, so to say, or also in the comments. I'll have a look at them. And I'm very happy to hear your questions. So as I was saying about the project title, it's always recommended to give them some color so they look like more lively. And what you can do is you can either like double click on the widget or click here. And here you can change the background color. For instance, I would take dark blue. It's always a good one. And we can give it, for instance, a white text so that it's more visible. And it directly gives more life to this dashboard. And also something else that I would suggest to do here is, as we saw also in the Starbucks example and also in our best-in-class solution example, there were like images. And like really don't underestimate the power of these images, because they make the dashboard look just like a website, a modern dashboard, a modern like website or welcome page, or however you would like to call it. And for instance, here I have already inserted earlier like an image widget, but I'll just make it like bigger. So I just click like here, for instance, like this. Yeah. So now probably it looks like this. And like now we have like some contrast. We have things that are gray here, and here it looks like much more lively. But you will see that really like as we go through improving this dashboard, it will really look like much nicer. And also here, for instance, like I added an image, but of course it can be like any of your corporate images, anything that looks nice, anything project related. Many of our clients have also like images per project, so you could insert any of those here. Then what would be my next recommendation is that, for instance, here I have PM update, which I wouldn't necessarily need, because here I see I have project manager. I'll just try to make it look a little bit more nice. So this is a metric widget. So practically the name of the project manager is somewhere in a project plan, and I just fetched it from the project plan. As you see, I have here Margot Fahey. And for instance, here you have also the possibility to display title. And of course, like you get a default name from Smartsheet, like based on where the data comes from. But I can like adapt this and write project manager. And as always, as I said, it's best practice like to center your titles. It's really recommended best practice, and to give them a background color. As I started with dark blue, I can give it dark blue. Like it just gives more like a feeling like the dashboard is homogeneous and I don't have like too many contrasts in the dashboard. And for instance, here I already have the title, so I can take this away. Exactly. And I'll do the same for now. I think we don't need this. And for instance, here I have added separately a title widget, but actually I don't need it because it's also taking too much space and it also doesn't look so clean and neat. So I can delete this because I can already like display the title in my widget. Pretty much I can display like titles for many of the widgets, like images, metric widgets, and so on. So again, I'll center it in the middle, and then I'll give it a background color, which was this one. And then, yeah, I'll give it this one, and I'll take the name away. Great. And then I'll do the same with quick links. I just display title. This is a link widget. So for instance, I can just click any Smartsheet item, let's say this one, and then I directly get the link to it. And if I click on it afterwards, it will just open like the particular Smartsheet item. And for instance, here, helpful links. And it's definitely best practice to include such a link widget in your project, because then it's like everything is directly accessible from your project dashboard. Sorry, I was trying to multitask. And you have like everything in your dashboard. You have like one place of truth, and your employees like can come from there like to almost any document they need. And for instance, these separators I don't really need in this case. Like if I make my dashboard look nice and clean, I don't need these separators. And you will really see that that's the case when we come to the end. I'll just do the same like color adjustments, so to say, for the other widgets. So allocation, budget, so that we have a nice looking dashboard that is homogeneous. Yes, and forecast too. That's great. So we have already done a lot of changes, so to say, visually in our dashboard. Like it looks much more like harmonious, so to say. Okay, so this was like we added a picture, we updated the navigation menu, we adjusted this metric widgets, we said that the helpful links would be a great add to your dashboard. And then before moving to charts, I see I have questions, and then I'll see how I can add it. Image option is really great. Thanks for showing its application. Thanks. I'm happy to see that it helped you, and yeah, I hope that it was helpful also for the rest of you. Thanks. What kind of colors should I use for chart widgets? Very good question. So yeah, I was just about to come to that question. So here we have the charts, and I click like on edit. And for instance, here I have like the different chart options, like bar, this one, the different chart options. In this case, I would suggest the donut chart. And as I said, under titles and legend, I can give it a title. I would definitely recommend like doing it and give it as an like the title should be as clear as possible, so that the end user does not need to worry or like doubt what is meant with this. It should really be like crystal clear, because only then you have all your users on board. I activate it first, and then I say here is like num or like just tasks by status. Or to be more specific, in this case, status is called health, so I'll name it status task by health. And again, best practice to center it and to give it a background color. And here, for instance, I can also change again the text to white. The legend, I can move it anywhere, but like this is perfectly fine. Something that probably is also important to know is that I can have a full circle donut or semicircle, but this looks like pretty fine. And then I can also decide, for instance, to show either numbers like value or percentage. And for instance, for many people, when they see like 12, 5, 3, it's hard like to calculate how much does it mean for the whole project. Because many project managers have like tasks that, for instance, they have like hundreds of tasks in their projects. So they're like 55 tasks finished. What does that really mean? So they really, for instance, prefer having percentages. Like, for instance, when I see 60%, I know, okay, more than the half of the project is done. So it has like a much stronger message. And we can see that also if I click, even if I'm doing percentage as an option here, if I hover over with my mouse, like over the chart, I can still see the number. So you're like shooting two birds with one shot. So now probably what you're all noticing is that I have red health and yellow health seem to be like pretty much labeled as the same. And I've seen this pretty often, and probably just because people like do not pay too much attention to it. But it's really important to label like the categories like correctly. In this case, red should really be red, and yellow should not be red. And for instance, probably this is too strong. And green, I'll give it a green. Yeah, it looks much better. And so I'll make it a little bit wider. Exactly. And also here, for instance, I'll do the same. So I'll give it title widgets, so directly here. And I'll say, for instance, here, tasks by schedule variance. And then I can again center it and give it a background color, what is also best practice. And then I can make it white. And for instance, here I have only 2 charts. So what I would really recommend is that you keep the chart type the same, so that we don't have like thousands of chart types, thousands of colors, thousands of things. So for instance, here I would again choose here like semicircle so that it looks pretty much the same. And for instance, duration as expected, this I could put as green because that's a good sign, or longer than expected, I could put, for instance, as red. And this is also probably answering a little bit of the question that try, for instance, to keep your colors like as harmonious as possible. And for instance, if you're using like red to annotate something that is not really on track, then apply the same everywhere. For instance, here health red is of course not good, but here also longer than expected is not good, so that I'm using red again to annotate that. So I'll do like this so that we have some bit of a structure here. And exactly here I'm having 3 on each side, which is great. Okay. And here, for instance, I can also do it a little bit more like this. So that, okay. So that they're all like under the same line and structure. Doing it live is much harder than doing it like when nobody sees you. But yeah, that's great. So it already looks so much nicer. Let's see, I have 2 questions. So this were the colors. I hope it was answered. And then, is this only doable for you, or do you sell this as a self-service device? Could you please like specify, in case you mean that if I only can like do all these changes, then the answer is no, like practically anyone with the Smartsheet license like can do all these changes. In case this is not what you meant, please let me know and I'll be happy to get back to you. Okay, so here I'll do the same with reports, like to keep our dashboard consistent. I'll make it bold. Okay, great. And for instance, here with the report, like it was in the center, I would definitely like do it, for instance, full length, or like we could also practically leave it in the center. And I'll make it a little bit like longer, because I'm sure that later on in the project, there might be some other things coming up, like some other milestones, or people might update their milestones and so on, and that people don't have to scroll when they have a report. And also with the reports, I have the possibility to display the title, which I would definitely recommend. And here, for instance, I can say, like, it directly takes the name of the report. So I have gone to select report, I selected milestone summary, and it's directly giving me the same name. And this, for instance, I can also center, let's say, in the middle, and also give it a background color if you like, just to keep like things really like branding, so to say. And here, for instance, I would do the same. So I don't need a title widget, because I can already like, so I will delete it. I can already like add a title to my report, so I don't necessarily need it. And for instance, I'll organize this a little bit. And here, if I click on edit mode, display title, then I already have it, open rate items. And reports are also really good, because I can directly see at a glance what is not going well. Great. Yes. So for instance, like this. And the good thing about the, okay, probably we don't need it to be so big. The good thing about, that's a matter of taste. Where would you like to put it? But yeah, we can also leave it like this. Or like, even to make it look nicer, we could have it like here in the helpful links, this rate form. So just add shortcut and then rate form. This is a formula link, so I'll just click on it. So this, and then I have here directly the form, like to submit an issue, risk, or decision, or enhancement. And what I can do, I can copy the link, and I can either, like in this case, I can either, like, I'll just go back to our example project exactly. I can either add it as a link here, like the rate form, or what I can also do, and that I think would be very helpful for many of you, is that you can use a web content widget, and then you paste the link here, and then when I click OK, I don't need a title. Then you directly have here the form, which looks great. And I don't need this icon. And the good thing about this form is that directly from Smartsheet, directly from here, I can practically like fill out a risk, issue, enhancement, or anything. And for this, I'll just make it like shorter, but of course, then I can update it in the back end. That would be the ideal case, so to say, to make this report a little bit smaller, so that, or like with less columns, so that I can like have both things in parallel, and I can still see all the columns, and that not that I need to like scroll here for the report. Okay, so we have already like done some changes, and you see like this with the risk, new risk, action, issue, detection, and so on can really be helpful, because directly from here I can just like enter my email address, let's say flera.hatimi@agile-management.eu. I can say I want to report a risk. I'll just say test. Description I don't need, and I say it should really be fixed by Monday. Let's put some pressure on the guys doing this. And I'll say it has a major impact, and then boom, it's directly there. So it's really, really convenient, like using the form as a web content widget. And of course, I could have done it like in many different ways. And for instance, also a really good thing that you can do, like with web content widgets, like that we have here, is that you can also add like YouTube videos. For instance, I'll just say Smartsheet video. Let's see what comes up. So introduction to Smartsheet. And I have a YouTube link. Exactly, we don't need it to play. So for instance, now I have a YouTube link and I can just click like here, select URL, and I can just paste it here. And directly from here, from the dashboard, I can like play the video. So from here, I can see like the video playing and everything is fine. And even like besides that, you can also have it that you, for instance, insert like your Google Maps or something in the dashboard. And that you can also do via a web content widget. For instance, I have like maps.google.com. I'll just go there. I think I have some map that I created, like for instance, with all the stores, like just for a test project, like that I have in Germany, for instance. So I'll see here meine Orte. Sorry for having it in English. And then like maps, I go to maps. So practically you can also create a map yourself. For the purposes of time, I have created this in advanced. And then I can just like open it, open my test map. And then here, for instance, I have the opportunity like to have an embed code, which I can just copy. And I can insert this directly. I'll just close the tabs that I don't need. And I can insert it directly in my dashboard. So again, I'll just add a widget, web content widget. Then I have a URL link that I got. I just click OK. I don't need it. Or I could also write stores across Germany map. I'll center it in the middle. I can also give it some background color for it to have it like more consistent. And I'll click on done. And you'll see how good it is. Like I'll click save. And for instance, from here, I see directly where my stores are. I can also see, I just named it store 1. You could also add like more information about it. You can zoom in, you can zoom out, and or you could have like a client map, or yeah, it's like really, really practical. And practically it has the same functionalities that you would have in Google Maps. So we have like embedded a YouTube video, a Google map, and we have like gone through the different opportunities, for instance, to insert forms in your dashboard. We have talked about the best practices, which were practically this with inserting navigation menu, inserting like pictures so that your dashboards look modern, having background colors and centering the text in the middle. Because it really like it gives you a totally different user experience, and this is what counts, because you want the people that look at it to be like excited about it and to find the information that they need. And we talked about how useful the helpful link widget is here, because here I can find all the things that belong to project A. And also we talked a little bit about like chart colors, but what I didn't talk, and that's like really helpful here, it just comes to my mind now. If I click on categories that I don't want to see, for instance, in this case, I'm like an executive and I'm like, okay, the green task, I know that I don't need anything to do there. Show me how much is red and yellow, let's say. And you see the percentages are also like updating constantly. So if I take only the yellow and the red, then like the percentages are updating. Then we talked about like reports that are really important also. We talked about how to insert YouTube videos and how to insert Google Maps, for instance, with your client base, store base, and so on. And now what we can do is that, for instance, this is the dashboard that we built. And let's have a look at the dashboard, how it was in the beginning. I'll show you in a bit. So it was a project, the project A files, and this is how it looked in the beginning. So you can really see what of a difference we could make like within 20 minutes, like when looking at the dashboards. So practically this is how it looked, like pretty much not so user friendly and not so organized, and like with, of course, it had like good content, and this is definitely what we need for a good dashboard. But you see that with some tips and tricks that we use with the navigations, with the colors, with like rearranging things and so on, we could really make the dashboard look much more powerful and much more interesting for your end users. Like it looks much more attractive, much cleaner. I know where I can find information. Everything is like branded, so to say. I'm consistent in the way how I present information. I have reports directly from here. I can report an issue and so on. And here, for instance, of course, these were all for test purposes. It's not that I would put like an introduction to Smartsheet video in project A necessarily, but this was practically just to show that there are like many possibilities how you can use web content widgets for forms, for YouTube videos, for Google Maps, and you can do it also with other links. Like just to show you. So for instance, you could add like YouTube, Google, Microsoft, Tableau, and other links. So I hope you're very happy with the progress, and very important when you're presenting, use full screen view. It looks much nicer and gives you a really good experience. I'll see what we have from the questions. So I see, can you create a report in which you, for example, select a specific person, like from a drop-down? Yes, definitely. So if you want me to show how to do it, definitely drop me an email and I'll show you how to do it. You can either select like current user, which means that everybody that opens up the dashboard will see their own task, but you can also see that you can also say that you want to see the task, for instance, from a colleague of mine or from whichever person that you select. And of course, then this you can also display in the dashboard. How do we get in contact with you afterwards? Very good question, and I'll show this in a little bit. And I see this was an amazing webinar. Thanks, Lara, for the great presentation. AMX is a top partner and you're a top consultant. Thanks, Andreas. That's very good to hear from you. And yeah, cheers to many more webinars to come. So let's go back to the question, how do we get in contact with you afterwards? First of all, I want to really, really thank you for taking your time for this webinar, and this, like, I hope that you could really like learn something out of it, and I hope that it was also fun for you, like, to see all these things like being done live, which is definitely like another experience. And yeah, thanks for taking your time in these times, in these hard times with the corona situation. I really appreciate it. And if only my internet would be a little bit faster, I will show you how you can get in contact with me. So this is how you can contact me. Feel free to drop any email for any question. As I said, like, there are no simple, hard, whatever questions. Every question has its own purpose, and I'll be more than happy to get back to you. So for anything, write me here and we'll get in touch about the opportunity. And I'll take the last round of questions. Great session, Lara. Thanks, Filippo. That's very nice to hear. And will you be sharing this dashboard for utilizing your session in a better way? It was a great session. Yes, definitely. So what you will receive in the end of this webinar is you'll receive an email from me with all these resources that you can have access to. And also there, then you can practically like have a look at them, see how they're built, and I'm sure that it will help you too. Great. So the contact question, I hope it was answered. Thanks, Larry. You did a great job. Thanks. That's always nice to hear. And we have another question. Can we show percentage achievement versus a set target? Say, for instance, if the target is 45% weight and we would like to show that we actually score 35. That's definitely possible. We can do this, like, there are like several opportunities to do this. Like you have a set target and then you can show how many you have achieved, and you can also weight this. Like in order for us to not take like much more time, I would say best drop me an email and I will definitely build the solution gladly with you. And thanks for the question. So many thanks again. Please do not hesitate to contact me at this email address. And let me know if there are some other questions. I would take like a last round of questions, and yeah, I'll be happy to see what comes. There are many thanks today. I'm happy to hear. I hope that this webinar helped you a little bit to get like a picture of what you can do with dashboards. Of course, it was not too much in detail, but if you just like imagine what we did like within 20 minutes, if we take like a whole day for it to build like different dashboards for your projects, for your departments, for your company, like portfolio dashboards and so on, then you can really see how powerful dashboards can be, because you can really like practically build anything with it and it looks super great. It's a great user experience and everything is automatic. So you don't have to update like your presentations every time before a board meeting or anything. And like you can really have always like an up-to-date overview across all your projects, and really like for every information that you need, and you can adapt it also to your stakeholders. I'll see. Yeah, thanks a lot. I think this was it for today. I see no more questions coming. I hope many of those questions were cleared, and then let's keep in contact, and I'm looking very forward to hearing from you. It was a great session, and we'll repeat these webinars every 3 weeks with different topics. So I'll be more than happy to see you again, and yeah, I'll see you in the next webinar. Yeah, thanks a lot and have a great time.